Derby County have made a whole host of changes to their coaching staff over the course of the last few weeks, with the introduction of John Eustace, Keith Downing and Matt Gardner, the release of Matt Hamshaw and Andy Warrington, but those two have been replaced. Paul Clements has joined as the first team goalkeeper coach until the end of the season, and then obviously you've got Steve Round, who's agreed to join John Eustace over the course of the remaining season in a part-time basis. Now, obviously, when we look into these sort of roles that we've brought in these staff for, it's obviously important to note that Matt Hamshaw has been replaced by Steve Round and Paul Clements has replaced Andy Warrington. Now, Paul Clements has a really, really good footballing CV. Across the course of youth football, he's worked at Middlesbrough, Wolverhampton Wanderers and Huddersfield Town. That was up until the years of 2017. He then moved on into his first team setting under Huddersfield manager Carlos Corberán, David Wagner, Danny Cowley, Mark Fotheringham, Jan Stewart, Neil Warnock, Danny Schofield, Mark Hudson and Narkis Pelauch over the course of that spell from 2017 to 2023. And I don't think many people can complain about this introduction of Paul Clements. He's got a really, really good CV at Huddersfield. I believe he was part of one of their promotions. He obviously then moved on to Norwich in 2023 under Narkos Palach and Ryan Shawcross, who obviously took a game there. That was at Stoke City, David Wagner and Jonas Thurup, where he was the goalkeeping coach at Norwich for just over a year's time. You then obviously go to move on to his spell at Stoke City, which was obviously his shortest spell. A bit of a disappointing one, really, with obviously Stoke going through, I think it's 3 managers so far this season. And obviously joining Derby County expects us until the end of the season. I think if Derby County stay up in the division, I think he's someone who will stay on. And obviously, when we look at Paul Clements, a lot of people are going to think that it's Paul Clement, the former Derby County manager, but I just want to make it clear they are 2 different people, 2 different entities. And this guy, goalkeeper coach, has had a lot of experience at this championship level. Can he help Jakub Vidal-Zetterstrom with that passing game, with getting the ball off the floor, and obviously all things that come with goalkeeping? That's a big question on my lips right now. Paul Clements is 40 years old. He's English and obviously the goalkeeper coach at Derby. If we look at his history, we've already spoke about his goalkeeping career as a staff member, where he's obviously gone through the youth setup through Borough, Wolves and Huddersfield. He spent 6 or 7 years at Borough, 4 or 5 years at Wolves, and then obviously spent a long time at Huddersfield from 2015 to 2023. And then since then has been sort of very short spells of his career. Now, obviously, there is a few things to talk about with the introduction of a new goalkeeper coach. How will it impact the goalkeepers that we've got? Will that change the run-in of the goalkeeper setup that we have? Will Josh Vickers get another opportunity? Right now, we do not know, but that's something which we'll have to discuss later down the line. We obviously then go to look at Stephen Round, who John Eustace will know well from his time at Derby County in the, was it 2015? When he first came under Steve McLaren. Might have been a year prior to that, actually. But Steve Round and John Eustace will know each other quite well. Round was a technical coach at Derby County from 1996 to 2001, before moving over to Middlesbrough from 2001 to 2006. Spent time with the England national team from 06 to 07, before moving on to Newcastle under Sam Allardyce, Kevin Keegan, Nigel Pearson. Other managers he's worked under: Jim Smith, Steve McLaren, Gareth Southgate, David Moyes, and Mikel Arteta as of recently. Spent time at Everton, Man United, Aston Villa from 2016 to 2018, and he was the assistant manager at Arsenal from 2019 to 2023. He's a manager with a ton of experience. Was the assistant manager for Steve McLaren at Derby County for 24 games from January the 6th, 2015 to May the 7th, 2015. Obviously spent that large period with Jim Smith in 1996 to 2001. And it will be very interesting to see how Steve Round gets on with Derby County, because Obviously, he knows the club. He knows John Eustace. He's got previous with this club, not just with Jim Smith, but also with Steve McLaren. And it'll obviously be really interesting to see how the 54-year-old really develops into that role on a part-time basis, might I add, which is obviously going to be really interesting for him to sort of find a way to sort of has his impact, as he's not there every single day on the training pitch. But obviously, the Derby County team train 4 times a week. If he's there for the 2 tactical sessions or the 2 technical sessions, I think he'll have a massive, massive impact. Now, obviously, the big questions will be is how are these 2 coaches going to have a full impact on Derby County? Now, for me, obviously, Steve Round will obviously replace Matt Hamshaw and be more of the hands-on, technical, tactical advice on the training pitch. And whether he'll be involved on match days, it will be very, very interesting to see. I'm sure we'll find out on Saturday afternoon. And Paul Clements, as the goalkeeper specialist, obviously takes over from Andy Warrington. And it's going to be really interesting to see how this sort of works with Jakob Vidal-Zetterstrom, with the likes of Josh Vickers, the likes of Rohan Luthra. And obviously, you've got to look at those young keepers coming up in the likes of Jack Thompson, Harry Evans, Harley Price. There's quite a few coming up as well in that young age group that are really sort of banging on the door with each other and a very, very good goalkeeper. So it's going to be interesting to see how sort of that develops over the course of the next few months. Now, obviously, the main aim for all of these coaches that have come in across the course of the last 2 weeks is to get Derby County back into a survival period in the Championship. Now, they are in a difficult space at the moment. We currently find ourselves, I think it's on 29 points from 33 games, 1 point away from Hull City, 3 points from Cardiff, 6 points from Stoke, but they all have a game in hand. So it's really important that Derby County pick up a victory as quickly as possible. Obviously, hopefully that will come this weekend. Bristol City and Burnley both play tomorrow night against Sheffield Wednesday and Middlesbrough, but those games don't really have much of an impact on us. The games we really need to be watching out for is the likes of Plymouth versus Cardiff, Sunderland versus Hull, Norwich versus Stoke, really, Pompey, QPR. These are all games we need to be taking a look at to see if we can get ourselves right back into that discussion of Championship survival, which is something which could potentially come for Derby County. As much as we've been on a really, really bad run, we're ultimately not in the worst place because we do have that opportunity. We've got a decent run of home fixtures coming up in the next 5. It's 3 home games out of 5. Obviously, that Plymouth game, which is the 5th of the bunch, will be a very important one as well, given the closeness nature of those 2 sides. We obviously played Coventry, Blackburn, Middlesbrough and Millwall in that run as well. And then we come back from the international break to another home game versus Preston North End, which will be a massive, massive one too. So there's obviously some big caveats with these new the new goalkeeper coach, the new coach in Steve Round. It's going to be interesting to see how they develop this group of players. I think it's really important that we've got 5 new voices in the dressing room now, not just for the goalkeepers, but also the outfielders, those attacking players. And I think the introduction of Kmar Roof is going to be massive for that forward line. I think it's really going to help to renew the confidence in the likes of Jerry Yates, the likes of Lars Jørgen Selverson, and hopefully those forward players in the likes of Tom Barkhuizen, Mendes Lang and Marcus Harness. Now, you can obviously have your say down in the comments. If you have not done so already, make sure you hit that subscribe button, turn on that notification bell, hit the like button as well, and I'll catch you in my next video.